Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a whirlwind of an off season, but now the time has come to begin a brand new season of EMLB. After a little bit of a hiatus, a tad bit of a break, and a little delay in the season due to unforeseen circumstances, we are back and better than ever and ready to go for your 2031 EMLB predictions. I'm Aiden of the Twins, joined by Andrew, our World Series champion, Tim Lowry of Backfields Media, and EMLB's resident bad boy, Brendan. We are missing JR. We hope he is doing well. And we know we cannot make up for his sexiness, but we will do our best.
Oh, we can more than make up for it. I'm sorry, JR. He's still number one. But when you got 2, 3, 4, and like 18 in the room, I think we're all right.
Put down in the comments which is which.
Or don't.
Or don't. So we are going to do probably our favorite. It's been what, 3 seasons since we've done this most recently. Last time we did it, it was when there were just 2 divisions in each league before we went back to the 3-division format. So I think without any further ado, Tim, would you like to pull up our standing sheet and we should jump right into it so that way we don't keep the people for too long?
Yeah, I got it. I have bedtime.
All right, old man. We thought Tim was the old one here.
Guy who delayed the start of our pod. I mean,
Tim is the old one here.
I was at church. You can't blame me for that.
Well, we can blame you. Just
Doesn't make
it's just
it right.
that we're going to be arguing with the Lord.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so who wants to go first? I guess. I mean, or do we just want to go down the column of us here?
Go down the column.
Go down the column. All right, Tim, pick a team.
All right, I am going to start with my favorite team in real life, the Detroit Tigers. They are in the midst of a rebuild. They're getting there. JR Frankenstero is their best player by far. I wonder where the runs are going to come from. They've got some decent pitching, some really good CCP pitching in Giannis Garbo, Goat Yoga, Musa Vandenberg, who's going to be really good, I think, really special. That said, I think they are going to end up. Now I remember what I'm supposed to do here. They are going to end up in 4th place in the Central. That is my
Tim,
pick.
I gotta say, it makes me laugh how you don't use the keyboard shortcuts.
Okay. I'm glad I could have used it.
It was quite fun.
I use them at work, so I go away from that in my real life.
Ah.
Well, I guess my question is, if you think they're finishing 4th in the AL Central, who the heck are they finishing ahead of? Go ahead and put me down for 5th.
All right.
Sorry, Punk. You seem like a cool dude, but
As much as I want to put them 5th, I just don't know that I have the ability to. I think for me, they're a 4th place team. The AL Central, while they did have the AL representative in the World Series, I do think out of the 3 AL divisions, they're probably still the weakest division, but not by much. But the Tigers are sort of among the weakest in the division, where it's, I think you have 2 contenders at the top, you got a middle ground, and then you got 2 bottom feeders in that division.
That's
Andrew,
fair.
you're muted.
Yeah, I was
something.
muted. Yeah. For me, I list their strength as Tim said earlier with Frankenstero at the hot corner, and then I do like their corner outfield and Donald LaFay and Hank Peralta. I think that's a really solid dynamic duo in the corner outfield. The rest of their team, unfortunately, leaves a lot to be desired. They have that young pitching, but it still needs to develop. So it might be a couple seasons before that pitching staff kind of comes into form. So I agree with Brendan. I actually have them finishing last in the Central.
Oh, okay.
But it's a rebuilding team. I don't think they're going to stay at the very, very bottom for many seasons, but they're definitely in a rebuild. I guess am I next?
And you are next.
Going down the column. All right. Well, I want to avoid staying in the same division. So let's go with last year's Cinderella story that almost pulled off a World Series appearance, the Miami Marlins.
Ooh.
So my formidable opponent in the NLCS last season did a fantastic job with the undeniably probably one of the best, if not the best, left side of the infield in baseball in Dit and Eric Von Cola. Trying to find my research on this. I have them somewhere. Oh, there it is. So they have very good players around the infield. The problem is that they kind of took a step back in their rotation. And I had something to do with that. They traded away David Leal to me. And whoever's going to play catcher for them is just literally just going to be there to catch baseballs. That's their weakest part of the lineup. Plus, they don't really have a strong hitter to play designated hitter. As great as their season was last season, I think they may take a step back. In terms of where they finish in the division, though, I believe it's going to be between them and one other team for the second spot in the NL East. And I'm going to actually put the Marlins. I'm going to put the Marlins in second in the NL East. But I don't think they might just miss out on a wild card spot, in my opinion.
I think you summed it up perfectly. I think the Marlins are the best of the rest in the NL East. I struggle to see anyone taking down the top team in that division. And I don't think any of the other teams in that division are really ready to make that step up. I think the Marlins' floor is around 500, but their ceiling is a 90-win ball club that can sneak into the playoffs and make another run potentially. We know Eddie loves his deadline moves, so I'm really interested to see if he can continue to capitalize on that. I mean, with Red Dit and EVC, I'm never going to count them out. I just think they're a second-place team.
Okay.
As much as the contrarian in me would love to say Marlins win it all, because that would be more fun.
It would be.
Baseball is more predictable than that. It's not entirely predictable, but it's more predictable than that. They're second in the division. I don't think there's a real challenger for that. There's one challenger, but not a real challenger. But they're second to the Phillies.
And I picked them in third. Aiden made the point that their floor is 81, and I think they're going to be right at 500. I think losing Leal in the pitching staff really is going to hurt them.
Now, don't get me wrong. They still have a decent rotation there.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest question marks is how they utilize the two-way ability of Patrice Lefebvre. However you pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it. Or Lefebvre.
Lefebvre.
I just keep thinking of I actually think it's Lefebvre just because of Brett Favre. But anyway, he's got talent at both the plate and on the mound. It's just a question of where can you utilize him to make him the most effective. I think as much as there's other superstars on the team, I think if they can figure out the right usage of Lefebvre, Patrice, yeah, that'll push them higher.
Okay. All right, Aiden.
So
y'all got to remember though, Eddie will probably make a deadline deal with me, And depending
It's tradition.
but depending on the state of the Yankees season, which we'll get to whenever someone picks them, that could end up playing a very important role in where they finish on this list. Keep that in mind.
This is
So
true.
I want to go cross country. Let's go to Seattle and let's go with the Mariners. The Mariners are one of those teams that always leaves me scratching my head because I always either way overestimate them or way underestimate them, and I can never seem to get that in between. This year, I think I'm going to underestimate them a little bit. To me, they're a fourth place team in the loaded AL West still. I'm struggling to see how they break into that top three of the AL West still. Tom, Ben, and Jamie, the three of them always have very competitive teams, and that isn't going to change anytime soon. I just don't know that the Mariners have enough to do anything in that division outside of finish around 500 and maybe find a way to make some noise in the wild card.
The Mariners in EMLB, much like real life, don't bottom out very much, but they don't wow anybody. Fifth. I think they finished fifth.
Ooh. I'm curious who you have ahead of them.
Well, there's only two options.
Fair.
Well, I mean, there's three options we all know, but two options that are interesting.
That would be the surprise, yeah.
Yeah. I have them fourth. I see them trying to build. You mentioned in real life, Seattle, it's kind of like them. I think they've got some nice building blocks. Jeff Wallach, James Bond, that guy at third, what's his name? Kelly. I think they have a nice core. It's finding some competent role players and things like that they really need. I have them at fourth.
Yeah, it stinks because if you put them in the AL West is by far the most competitive division. If you put them in either of the other two AL divisions, I'd have them finishing second. But unfortunately, I also have them finishing in fourth. They have a strong top of the rotation, but the back end of the rotation is a little bit of a question mark. They do have one of the best corner infield duos in baseball in Jeff Wallach and Eric Kelly. That if they can carry the offense, that would be fantastic. The problem is their bullpen scares me, and the supporting cast outside of Wallach and Kelly scare. And Bond in the outfield. If those three can carry the offense, they can do really well. But they just need the support players to step it up in everyone else in the position players and their bullpen. And those are big question marks for me.
Wasn't Bonds Tranquil's player?
Let me check. Yes.
Was
Tranquil.
it Mr. Farms?
It was Mr. Farms.
Yeah.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Man, that is a Pepperidge Farm.
That's a throwback. That's a throwback right there.
And we can move on.
All right. I guess it's my turn.
Yep.
Jeez.
And I'm going to go ahead and get the party started with a GM in the chat. Let's go with Twins. I feel.
Nope. Hold on. You're not allowed. You're not allowed, sir.
Everyone else has talked about their pick.
No.
Sir.
We're talking. We selected teams that we are responsible for.
Oh wait,
sir, that is not one of your teams.
Oh, we're still going off that?
Yes. We all did.
Shit! I have no idea who I pre-selected for.
Well, don't spoil it for the people, Tim.
Well,
yes, all of you can go back just a little bit and pause it and write it.
You can see who we're each going to. So we tried to prepare better for this than just flying by the seat of our pants.
I thought we were flying by the seat of our pants.
You may be.
I really thought that's what we were doing because no one prepared for this. Okay, I'm literally scrolling through the chat trying to find the fucking spreadsheet because I'm on my phone. There it is.
You're gonna make Tim Juchara buddies, Brendan.
I don't give a fuck.
He's not gonna put him in.
I'm
All
not doing
right.
jar
What teams
bunnies.
do I got?
Yep.
All right, well, fine. I still want to talk about teams that I want to start off with talking about a team we got here. So let's go with the Cardinals, the defending champions. Go ahead and pencil me in for a number 1 spot in the Central. They return the team minus a reliever, and relief pitchers, people vacillate between how they feel on this. Some people feel like a dominant closer is a must-have. Some people feel like that role is interchangeable. I think the Cardinals are clearly moving forward with the idea that role is interchangeable. Losing Leclerc does not harm them at all. It doesn't change anything about this team. This team only got better. They landed one pitcher from the Marlins, whose name is slipping my mind at the moment. Andrew will surely say that here in a minute. I think the Cardinals repeat in the division and make a serious run to repeat for the title.
I'll wait for you. I'll give my thoughts last.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. And yeah, for the same reason, they went out and they fixed a lot of the problems they had. They have a lot of middle of the lineup depth and middle of the field depth, which I feel is extremely crucial. Huh?
They also got Diaz. I forgot to mention Diaz.
Yeah. Danny Diaz. I feel like there's some pieces here that will become available at some point, depending on how the season plays out. I know the Cardinals don't like to trade, but I'm calling it now. So yeah,
hurry up! I got my trade.
They're going to win the NL Central.
Meeting in about an hour.
Yeah. I want to keep up my shtick that I had when we did this last of, trying to pick a team to go against Andrew and do it. But you can't. You just can't. There is nothing that tells me that the Cardinals can't go back to the World Series. As we've all said, they've only gotten better. They've made more underrated moves, I think, than just Diaz and Leal. I mean, I'll even pull one that we made with you bringing in Lewis, who is a viable utility guy who you can use. There are some underrated moves that he has made that really make me think that we could see the Cardinals be what the Pirates were five seasons ago and go back to back. They are in serious contention of that.
It's been that long?
No, it hasn't been that long.
5 seasons, right?
Nope.
Not 5.
27 and 28.
No, it's 31, dog.
Oh, my math was off. It's all right.
Yeah, so that's 3 and 4 seasons ago.
It's 31, dog. Should be the outtake of the episode.
That should be the episode name.
There's been a lot that's happened since then.
It's 2031, dog.
Yeah, and by the way, y'all's checks are in the mail for how much you hyped up my. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, obviously I'm biased. But to kind of counteract what Brendan said about not thinking that Leclerc, he's putting me at 4th. So what Brendan said about me not bringing back Leclerc and kind of finding someone to fit the role, I actually did sign Edwin Diaz to a cheaper contract than Leclerc signed for. But he's really going to test for me the whole stats are more important than ratings thing, because Diaz, if you look closely, kind of put up better numbers than Leclerc did last season. But actually has the number 4 amount of saves in EMLB history right now. He's 4th on the all-time list. And just overall in his career has much better stats than Leclerc, but his ratings were a lot lower and he signed for cheaper than Leclerc. So we'll see how he does in the back end of the Cardinals bullpen. But I was definitely happy to bring on the trumpets with Edwin Diaz coming into St. Louis. But and honestly, the Diaz thing kind of just fell into my lap. Unfortunate for Houston. They did sign him, but it ended up. And I talked with Ben about this. He did something that I did before. He just offered what was asked for in game, but it ended up being an illegal contract based on in-house rules, which I've done before as well with Dom Aguilera. So I feel for him, but I was trying to sign Hosky at the time, and I was like, okay, well, Diaz is just a better version of Hosky. So I pivoted and thanks to the glitch, signed both, but thank thank goodness Commish put Hosky back. So yeah, I definitely have a lot. My thing about adding Diaz and Alan Lewis, not Royce Lewis, was I want options. I don't want to have to rely on one player unless that player is Shane Rodecker and Royce Lewis. Outside of
players.
What's that? I know it's 2 players. I can't count now. But basically, I just want a lot of options, and now I have a lot of first base DH options in Diaz, in Brendan Donovan, in Gavina, who I got from the Twins. My biggest question mark is going to be giving the full-time shortstop job to Wander Franco. He switched between second and third base for me last season, but was one of the playoff heroes of our playoff run. Giving him the full-time job and moving the defensive stud Tony Courtney to Pittsburgh means I am taking a bit of a hit defensively with Franco at shortstop. So we'll see if that is a detriment to my pitching staff or not.
I will say the Cardinals are collecting bats like the Dodgers in real life are collecting pitchers. Where are they going to play all these people?
What's that?
Where are they even going to play all these people?
I have plans. Don't need to reveal
No one
them right
plays
now,
more than 90 games. Yeah. All right.
Well, I guess we're going
back. And I think to your point about relievers, just by definition, the workload, unless you're talking about a Parkinson or a McClure, it's a small sample size. You can get away with a lesser rated player in that spot. I made a career out of turning guys into really good closer prospects and dealing them. So I think you've got a chance.
I have a chance, but I will say this is a spoiler for my future power rankings video that I'll record at some point. I have multiple teams ahead of the Cardinals in my power rankings. So I don't even have them as the favorite I don't even have us as a favorite to repeat right now. But I do have us at the top of the NL Central.
I think everyone knows who the favorite's going to be.
Yeah, that's no surprise.
So, Tim.
The Arizona Diamondbacks.
Oh, whatever. Okay. Well, staying in that division, I'm going to talk about the Padres. The coolest thing I saw.
Nothing than the Arizona Diamondbacks?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Cardinals because we just talked about it. Never mind.
No.
Ignore me.
Same division as
I'll put myself on mute. Sorry.
It's okay. Anyway, San Diego. The bulk of their pitching staff in terms of quality is all under 25. And because I went into my preview wondering how the Padres were going to pull this off. Asher Kim allegedly will be a free agent at the end of this season. Hands up if you believe that's going to happen. Exactly. But they've got this young, really good pitching staff. They've got depth. The pieces they lost, like Hosky, really did not provide a whole lot of value to them last year. I think this is going to be the closest race of all 6 divisions, but I think the Padres are going to end up in second. I'm not Andrew. I'm Tim. I'm putting the Padres in second.
I think it's really inspiring that you asserted your identity like that. You're not Andrew. You're Tim. And you're absolutely right about the Padres finishing second in that division.
I have my moments.
Segue.
I love it. I think the NL West for me is the hardest division to pick, which many people may say, hey, how is it not the AL West? I actually think the NL West is a little bit more difficult for myself. I'm having a really hard time, but you know what?
We'll get you through it.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think Steve finds another Kim out there and leads him to an NL West crown.
Okay.
All right, this is the worst time for me to be getting hiccups, so sorry about that.
It's all right.
I'm actually going to be playing devil's advocate here. So with the Padres,
And you just coming from church. That's great.
Wow.
well played, well played. Yeah, I agree about their starting rotation. It's a very young rotation, but that's just the thing is it's young. They do have a couple of guys leading it. Like Jimmy Sherman put up a great season last year. Surprisingly, Young Ha Kim put up a great season, which I don't know if he can keep that up again. But their bullpen scares me a little bit. There's not really an option that stands out. Again, we've talked about bullpens being like you don't need one guy, but they definitely don't have one guy to lead their bullpen. Their middle infield is the best middle infield in baseball, the best shortstop, second base tandem, I would say, in Jack Lawless and Kim. But they mostly sat back this offseason and didn't really do much to improve, whereas other members of their division were either already better or went out and made moves to get better. I have the Padres finishing third.
Okay.
Part of me really wants to like pick something. I've picked something crazier than that. I'm glad I picked what I picked, but
we have plenty of time.
Yeah, we do.
Plenty of time and a lot of teams left. Oh, I guess that's my cue.
It's your
We'll
turn.
definitely switch. We'll start with an AL East team. Let's go with the O's.
My old boys.
Your old boys. Still love that left side of the infield in Bluth and Spence. And you have, yes, I was getting to the second baseman. I was getting to him. I started on the left side. Now I'm swinging it back over, but then let's not talk about their first base. Their middle infield is one of the best in baseball. They have a decent rotation, led the way by Walker. Outside of that, though, nothing really impresses me. They have really good pieces in Espinoza, Bluth, and Spence. They have good top of the rotation in Walker and Newland and McKnight. Outside of that, it's just a bunch of meh for me, especially their outfield. Their outfield is kind of scary. In terms of where they finish in the AL East, where do I have them? I have them finishing fourth.
Imagine preparing for a podcast. What a novel concept.
I'm not really. This isn't a preparation for this podcast. This was a preparation for my power ranking because then I've seen where I ranked them in relation to all of the other.
I know.
AL
I'm just being
teams.
funny.
I tell you, hey, I'm trying to remember what I said. I've got to post. I've got to already post it.
See,
That's true.
Gone are the days of Brendan's Orioles, the bash birds, as we used to call them.
Long gone.
Long gone are those days. They're how did we used to put it? Competitively retooling, I believe was the phrase that we used to use back in the day. So they're competitively retooling themselves to a fourth place finish.
You know what? Y'all are down on them. Third.
What
Don't get me wrong, I don't
insightful.
think they're a playoff team, but I also think that the Orioles are in a perpetual plus or like 81 plus or minus 5 situation.
I don't
And
think it's going to be that good this year.
81 plus or minus 5, it's good for third in the division.
Okay. I have a lot of concerns. I think they have some great names. I don't see much depth. I'm concerned about there's literally no coaches on that team outside of the major league level. And I know that doesn't have much to do with how the regular season team will do, but I don't feel like they are going to react quickly enough to the ups and downs of the season, and I think it's going to cost them. I see them falling to the bottom of the AL East. Thank
All
goodness,
right, I
because I
guess.
was getting ready to do hand puppets. All right.
All right, so
We're
I guess it's my turn now.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and let's mosey on back over to the NL Central. And let's talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, Pittsburgh Pirates under new management. Finally, I can wear this jacket without feeling ashamed based on previous management, you know. But I think that this is a positive step forward. No, I'm kidding. Cody, I love you. I just had to a little bit. Pirates sent away a lot of pieces, and under new management, I don't know how happy Kenny was seeing all those pieces leave. Where they end up could be, I think they have the widest range out of any team in baseball of where they could end up. For me, I think in that division, looking at everything that's provided, I think they finish in 4th place.
Wow.
Mm. You mentioned you don't, that Kenny probably didn't like seeing all those pieces leaving Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say he's happier there than he was with his previous team. He's got better pieces in Pittsburgh than he did in Atlanta.
I don't know whose fault that was.
I didn't say anything. That was all you.
I said it.
Competent GMs, clearly.
Imagine building a hole so deep that the GM, despite being there for 5 years or 4 years, whatever many, still can't fix it and decides to quit.
Anyway, so talk about competitive retooling. That's kind of what Pittsburgh did here. They have a really good 1 and 2 at the top of their rotation, but after that, a bunch of bleh. They have really good reliever in Parkerson. After that, bleh. They have Bonds in center, Bettis at first, and then Koshin at DH. After that, kind of bleh. Now, Josh Exley in left field is someone who could grow into a high productive bat, but he's still young. He's still developing. So there's a lot of great and there's a lot of not so great. And that puts you right in the middle, 3rd place.
Not a single mention of Tony Courtney. The man wins you a World Series ring, and you don't even say a word about him.
It's because he got benched for Wander Franco in the playoff run.
Look, I feel like bleh is a pretty succinct way to view this team. But I also feel like that's a pretty good way to view the entire NL Central outside of their top team, who is just meh instead of bleh. I already said you're very good. I'm just teasing, of course.
That's fair.
I can envision the Reds finishing second. I can envision the Brewers finishing second. Hell, I can even envision the Cubs finishing second. But I do think it will be the Pirates who finish in second.
I am more of what they have that's good is very good. What is bad is bad. I like Bonds and Cochin are going to probably in a normal voting league, they would compete for the MVP award and split it. I think Cody Cochin is the best player in baseball.
Really?
Fight me.
Dante Haversham.
No, I'm on to Team Koshin on that one.
Yeah,
Haversham catches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Haversham is more valuable and a better player because the fact that he can actually play the field competently.
I just realized we're getting off topic.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, no worries. I think it's good enough to keep them competitive, but they will ultimately finish third.
I can see that. Looking at this Pirates team is like watching an episode of American Pickers. They find about 3 things in a pile of junk.
Or they pay $10 million for a piece of junk. And what was his name? Suzuki.
Fucking Japanese dude. You know, I am really. There's been a lot of stability in EMLB, but there's been a lot of change. And one of the changes I never thought I'd see was Cody being anywhere other than Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That feels way more dramatic than I think anyone's given it credit to in the Discord for how much this shifts the league landscape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what this whole situation looks like 6 years down the line, 6 seasons down the line.
I am very interested to see what Cody does in Sacramento.
In 6 years, the asteroid will have hit the Earth and wiped out the human population.
6 years in EMLB time or 6 years in real time?
Real life. Remember, there's that 2031 asteroid that they upped the percentage of hitting us.
Oh, so it's going to hit this year in EMLB.
Yeah. Maybe that's why.
I hope we get the draft in first.
Tim's like, I worked too hard for this.
Yeah, I've got articles and stuff I've got to write.
All right, Brendan, pick another one of your teams.
I bet it is my turn. There's a lot of great teams to talk about here, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Los Angeles Angels, Angeles, whatever the hell they want to pronounce it in Spanish. I don't give a fuck. Anaheim Angels, run by my boy Tom Falzone, who is the most consistent GM in this league. Guys like Ben run their team the same way. Guys like Jamie run their team the same way. But nobody has built a better machine than Tom. We were talking with Tim pre-podcast about his prospect rankings, and the Angels are once again one of the best prospect teams in the league. Was I misunderstanding? Yeah, he's not.
No, you're correct. You are correct.
There is no better machine than the Angels machine. And sure, that may not translate to World Series. They haven't won one since 2024. But they're consistently at the top, and they're consistently really good. And that consistently gives you a chance to win, and that consistently puts you at the top of my AL best. And my boy Tom and I will record a podcast at some point, hopefully. And I won't repeat what JR said about Tom, but it was all compliments.
I am going to put them second in the AL West while still agreeing with everything that you said. I still think it is a 3-team race. And I think the difference between the top 3 teams will probably be 4 to 5 games. And the Angels have just as much chance as anyone else, but I had to pick somebody first, and it wasn't them. So
I agree. You can coin flip that division.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go extra dimensional, you can coin flip with 3 sides.
Brendan, you're talking about a coin flip and don't have it?
I
This
can go
is
get
depressing.
it. I can go get it.
You know
He's
what?
Off brand. He's off brand.
He's off brand. This is disappointing.
Do the Yankees trust in luck?
They trust in the pocketbook. Well, he's going to. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the Angels, the Rangers.
Aiden, don't make your pick. Aiden, trust the coin.
All right, I'm trusting.
Aiden, call it. Heads or tails. Tails, the Angels are first. Heads, they're not first. Okay?
All right. I'm thinking it's tails. I think they're a first place team.
It's heads, unfortunately.
All right, so they're a second place team then. The coin has spoken. I have to live with it. I don't make the rules. I don't.
The fucking coin.
Always the fucking coin.
To think I used 8-sided dice one year for this.
I remember that. That was awesome.
Too. He had the little shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, it was going to take like 6 hours to do this whole thing, too.
This coin has decided more decisions than me personally, probably, at this point in my life.
The coin has spoken.
So my take on the Angels, I know, Aiden, you said, well, I don't know, what was it? NL West is the hardest to choose between. I think the AL West top 3 is the hardest to choose between. And this choice is meant as no disrespect to Tom. It's just a matter of the bloodbath that is the AL West. I have the Angels finishing 3rd.
Y'all dissing my boy.
I'm not dissing him. It's not meant as disrespect. All of those teams will make the playoffs, and it will be very close. And I agree with everything you said. He's the most consistent. He has consistently put together a winning season for as long as I can remember, and is always a team that will compete for a World Series. But that AL West is so stacked that it's really hard to break out from the 3 of them, and they beat up on each other all the time. And I think that the catcher position is a big question mark for the Angels, whereas the other 2 teams that are finishing ahead of them have the catching position locked down. I think that might be the key factor in determining the top 3 teams.
All right. Oh, it is my turn.
It is your turn.
I am going to go with. Let's go with the Montreal Expos. I like what Ken has done, and he's got a lot of good CCPs. He's taken a very measured approach. He's got a nice farm system. There's a lot of decent pitching. Got a couple of hitters. I really like Glenn Streamer. I hope he spent some boosts in the injury prevention category now that he's qualified. Because to lose him for 2 months really was that was sad. I think they are going to be impressive. As in, I feel they will finish 4th in the NL East, and they are on the way up.
I wanted very badly to put them where the Marlins are at 2nd, but I can't quite do that, so put them at 3rd for me.
All right.
I think they are a 4th place team. I love the jump that they've made. I think it's one more season till they get over that hump and start to challenge towards the top of that division and for the wild card. I think they finish right around 500 or just slightly under. And I think their pitching staff is going to let them down a little bit. But I do think that they are priming themselves. They're probably going to pick somewhere between 12th and 18th, not in this upcoming draft, but the draft after. And I really do think that in the 2032 season, we're going to be talking about them as a wild card contender.
Ooh.
I also have them in 4th. I think they're going to improve by at least 10 games compared to last season, where I think they 64 wins last year, something like that. I think they will improve by a good margin and continue to climb up the NL East ladder. They still have a lot of growing to do. I really like their outfield in Ortiz, Boyd, and Vega, and Soto's just going to be a DH. We all know that. But similar to what I said about Miami and the Patrice two-way question, the Ted Boyd two-way question is also there as well. Now, Boyd doesn't have the upside as a pitcher that Patrice does, but I think trying to figure out the best way to use Ted Boyd effectively, as he's probably the face of that franchise right now, as opposed to Patrice, who is definitely not the face of their franchise. So definitely lean into the star power of Boyd, because he's young, he can pitch, and he can hit. We'll see if he can do any at an all-star caliber talent, but I think he's an X factor for the Expos. I guess it's my turn again.
It is.
Dun, 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 dun. What division should we go to? Let's go back to the AL. Do I have any other AL Central teams? I do. Cleveland. Let's go Cleveland. So they have, without a doubt, the best corner infield in baseball. I don't think there's any question that their first and third base with Slambino and Coleman is the best first base, third base tandem in baseball. The problem is that their outfield is, in my opinion, pretty bad, like bordering on atrocious. Their middle infield is meh, and I believe their pitching is above average, but not what we thought it was going to be a couple seasons ago. So I actually have them finishing second in the AL Central. I do not have them winning the division this year.
What he said.
That's the equivalent. Do you all remember when Frank Caliendo went on the Mike and Mike show and was Stephen B. Smith?
Yeah.
And Stephen A. Smith gave this long-winded prediction about something, and it kept to Stephen B. Smith going, ditto. That's what that was.
Yeah, we all know. I'm known for my long-winded explanations. We know.
No. We got this.
No, that wasn't even long-winded.
That was actually one of my shorter ones, actually.
Look, I'm just trying to save us time here. All right, we're already almost an hour into this recording,
and it ended up doing the opposite because Brendan had to go off on this tangent.
Tangents are fun.
And they taste like oranges.
Why was I thinking tangerines too?
Again, it's the Frank Caliendo bit where he's like, you go off on a tangent here. You like tangerines.
I like tangerines. They're my favorite fruit.
So
I know exactly the bit you're talking about.
Sadier is a good GM, but Sadier is a patient GM. And sometimes patience does not equal wins. I think the Guardians, I wanted to say Indians really bad. The Guardians are the third team in the AL Central.
Whoa.
I don't feel good about saying that. No part of my stomach feels good about putting them there. But that's
just the 1800.
Because that means Brennan, in my opinion, based on looking at your board, that means one team second. And based on who that team probably is, I don't feel good about that.
We'll get there.
Well,
let me get there.
I am going to put them in second. I think, to your point, Sadier is an excellent GM, and I think this team is built. This build, anyone else would struggle to get as much out of as Sadier has and will. Royal is now the best pitcher. I'm hoping Dish comes by and drops a few boosts Techer's way. I think Coleman is the best leadoff hitter in baseball and one of the best players. I really like what he's done with this team, and they're the Phillies of the American League, and they're close. So I'm going to put them in second.
I just feel it's wrong to call them the Phillies of the American League just because the top end.
Well, I'm thinking about the emphasis on ground ball and defense. That's what I meant.
Literally on this roster, it's first, second starter, first base, third base, DH are the only positions on this roster that make me think that they can hang with anybody. And if you're just ranking the top 5 players on any team, they hang with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get below that, I start to get worried.
I get that. All right. I'm going to go to the AL East. Let's talk about the Toronto Blue Jays.
Ugh.
Hey.
What would you like to talk about them then based on that?
He's
Nah.
the Yankees. He's just it's a division rival.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put them in second. I think they're the second place team in that division. I think that
Who the fuck do you have at first?
That's what I was thinking.
I'm putting them in second. I think Ed Brown, I think he wins MVP this year in the American League. But I think it's still a second place finish.
Y'all remember the Johnny Knoxville movie where he plays a Special Olympics guy, like who guys pretending to be on the Special Olympics, called The Ringer?
Oh, Mission Impossible 5. Yeah, that was good.
Anyways, there's a scene in that movie where one of the chaperone, who's the villain of the movie, I guess, is out there doing shit with them, and then he tells the other chaperone, "Oh, we were out to go get ice cream." One of the people who's in the Special Olympics goes, "When the fuck did we get ice cream?" When the fuck would the Blue Jays ever finish second in this division? First.
I was going there.
By 15 games, maybe. It's the easiest division to win in this league. Like, there's no division that has a bigger gap between its best and worst team, and that's including the AL Central.
I would argue the NL East.
Oh, nope. I'll go in this division.
I'd argue the AL West.
Best and worst. I'm sorry, best and second best. Best and second best. My bad. I misspoke that. I realize now what I said. Best and second best.
I'm just the caretaker of Arizona. You don't have to spare my feelings.
I mean, the two Eastern divisions are the two top teams when you describe it that way, or two top divisions when you describe it that way.
Yeah. They're just head and shoulders above everybody they're going to be playing.
I have them in first. It's closer than what the projections state, but it's in real terms, it won't be that close.
So you have a lineup that includes Ed Brown and Jordan Cage and Trevor Gretzky, who right now has a pending unknown injury, so we'll have to wait and see what the status of that is. And you add Ismael Bracamontes to that lineup while having a pitching staff that includes William Money, Tanner Houck, Braden Holiday, and Ben Dudley. There's no question that team's winning the division.
I disagree. I'm not done yet.
I'm not done yet. I think this is one of the top teams in baseball, no question. Now you can talk.
I think
now you have my permission to speak.
I think that their bullpen is going to be atrocious this year. I think that they are going to struggle defensively. And I think at the end of the day, what we're going to see is that you guys are overhyping what the Blue Jays are.
Yeah, but look at their competition in that division, dude.
It's good to know that with the hey,
we'll get to you.
It's good to know that with the return to podcasts, we have the return to Aiden totally speaking out his ass and making shit up as he goes along.
Now, to be fair, one of those times during the free agent predictions, he got right with Leclerc, where I said there was no chance in any world where Heber would sign a fly ball pitcher. I was proven wrong.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? A blind, stupid squirrel is also right once a day.
Are you just saying that because I'm hairy?
No,
you're just nuts.
All right. Next team on this list. Since we've talked about a team that we all can agree is going to finish at the top of the division, well, at least all of us who have sense. Let's go ahead and talk about another team that we all can agree is going to finish at the top of the division. The Chicago White Sox are going to win the Central. They're probably going to clinch the division by the end of August. What else can be said about this team? You go from winning 40 games to winning what 99? 90.
Mm-hmm.
You do that with just an absolutely incredible roster. And what happens when you have a good GM who inherits a bad situation is you turn those draft picks into stars, and they have drafted extremely well. They've known what they've needed to target. They've gotten guys who are willing to put the investment into this time into this league and to build their players up. They've got a fantastic roster, and it's only going to get better because they have a bunch of elite prospects who are about to all hit the majors at the same time.
Yeah.
This team is not going anywhere, especially considering their division.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to be a problem for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Now, obviously, we can all worry about their future, but I mean, they've locked up a bunch of their young guys to long-term extensions, so that's really not in question either. So,
yeah. And they were willing to gamble on players coming out of the switch to OOTP 25 that may not have had the great potential ratings anymore, and they just kind of hung in there. They went out and they got Julio, who's like the best left fielder in the world, and they just up and down this roster. There's not too much weakness. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that when you look at what they did this offseason, they lost a pitcher that could be an ace on a lot of teams in this league in Barboza, but they're going to have a better rotation, and they didn't even have to add anybody because they have Abendux and Lukasiak on the way, and that's scary. There's no question that they're finishing first in the AL Central, and they're probably going to be there for a long time, like Tim said. The only, if you can call it, weak spots on their team is Danny Kelly at third base, but he's a defensive stud. And their center fielder, Michael Powell, just you could probably find better options than him. But outside of that, this team is fantastic top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they finish anywhere other than first, I'm going to be shocked. I know I say some outlandish things, but this is not one of them. They are going to be the best team in the AL Central, and they will probably, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say they will be the best regular season team in the entire American League.
That's not that much of a limb.
Now, you look at the three teams in the AL West, I think there's some competition there.
Yeah, but they get to beat on each other too.
True.
Yeah, but you also think the Blue Jays are finishing second. I still think the Blue Jays might finish with a better record because they have less competition in their division.
Yeah,
but
Blue Jays and White Sox compete for best record in the AL, but not best team.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Because I'd probably give that to whichever team comes out of the West alive. The West is like like a cage match, where there's no rules, and whichever team manages to actually not die is my favorite to win the World Series any year. But in this case, I think the White Sox and the Blue Jays will probably both win over 105 games.
All right, so we're an hour into this. We got 12 teams selected. So, Tim, are you back up now?
Yep. So I am going to pick the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds fell off of a cliff last year. And they are now in the midst of quite the rebuild.
Again,
the real struggle is the pitching staff keeping the ball in the park. They've got Jimmy Potts. They've got Trey Griffey. Johnny Ossington looks like he's going to be the real deal. And they've got a lot of question marks. And I feel like this is going to be a rough year this year. And they are going to finish fifth. And they do have some young talent, a lot of young talent. but it's not going to help this year. I see them in much better shape in a year or two.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add to that. I have them also finishing in 5th. As much as I love JR, it was a rough season for him last year. He thought he was going to be able to push for a playoff spot and ended up falling, unfortunately.
I don't want to kick a man while he's down, so I'll just say I agree with you guys' expertise so far.
Okay, so you don't want to kick him when he's down, but you'll join the mob beating up on him. Got it.
Exactly.
I think that this is a hard league to win in. It requires a lot of luck. It requires a lot of vision. And I think it requires falling into the right circumstances, and the Reds consistently don't fall into the right luck or circumstances. You start building a solid roster. OTP engine changes, totally killing a bunch of your best players. I mean, there's no team that I feel has been fucked more by out of the park changing their engine every other year than the Reds. Also been holding that 5 up for where I think they're at. I feel bad for JR, but that's just where they're at right now.
Yeah. All right. Andrew.
All right. So let's talk. Let's see. What division do we need to go to? Let's go back to the NL East. Let's talk about the Braves. I didn't intentionally do this, but I'll follow up one last place team with another. I do have the Braves finishing at the very bottom of the NL East. They have a lot of work to do. New GM in town is not taking over the best situation. Has his work cut out for him. Kenny Lindbergh at first base is really the only bright spot on the lineup. Max Powers, I'm pretty sure it's CCP at the GM, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The new GM is going to be the bright spot in the rotation. Outside of that, this team does not have a lot. This is going to be a rebuilding team for a while, especially once they get out from under a couple of these bad contracts, like the Soroka contract. They'll be much better off, but they're tied up with that money for a while too. So yeah, I have them finishing at the bottom of the NL East.
Yeah, I think they finish down there. It's not going to be close at the bottom of that division. And, not trying to tell them what to do there, but I wouldn't be shocked if Mr. Kenny Lindbergh is no longer a member of the Braves coming here in a few weeks, and he is a newly minted Pittsburgh Pirate, start to rebuild and get some prospects.
Kenny Lindbergh for Jerome Bettis, anybody?
Whoever Flying's third player is, because I imagine second player will be this draft, will be a Brave. They'll be picking first. It's just that is.
Yeah.
Some people have to connect the dots there.
Well, Aiden, I saw, was struggling with it. Sorry, Aiden, I'm picking on you a little bit, but you deserve it. So,
yeah,
turn your camera off.
And I think this is going to take a lot of draft picks and a lot of shrewd maneuvering, and it's going to take a lot of patience to get this team back, because
Yeah,
$57 million alone tied up in Soroka and Whitley for the next probably 2 seasons.
Well,
Whitley was not my fault.
Yeah,
Whitley was not my fault. Yes.
No, it's not.
Okay, hold on. Soroka, though, at the time of signing that contract, he got messed up by the OOTP engine when we switched over. So in my defense, at the time, it was not a bad contract.
Okay. If that helps you sleep tonight, that's great.
It does. Great. I'm going to go ahead and I would like to talk about the NL Central some more. Let's talk about Milwaukee. the Brewers, I don't know what to think of Milwaukee. So I'm gonna say they're a second place team, but I don't feel confident in it.
There's a couple divisions in this league
You
where
got
I
the Braves.
could totally shuffle. Well, I mean, the Braves were in Milwaukee, so he's not totally off. Tim just was remembering,
Oh.
when he was a young adult.
Hit undo a couple times.
There we
I think
go.
there's a couple divisions in this league where you could just shuffle around everything outside of first and be like, yeah, that could probably happen. And the NL Central is definitely one of them. I think that the Brewers are probably our third place team here. Yeah, I know what that implies. We'll get to that here in a minute. That's my pick, and I'll do that one next.
So I think when we were talking about our free agent podcast, we were expecting the Brewers to do more this offseason. Like, we thought this was the right offseason for them to be aggressive and to make that next step. Now, they did sign Eric Carpenter, but outside of that, that's about it, I believe. I mean, they made a couple of trades. Like, they got Charlie Moore now. They got Dalen Lyle from St. Louis. But none of those are really going to put them over the top and put them into playoff contention. So I still have them finishing fourth.
Okay.
Now, it's going to be close between them and the Pirates for third and fourth. Like, I think they're an above 500 team, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. It'll be barely above 500. It'll be like 82, 83 wins.
I have them just a shade under 500. I am more bullish on them in a season or two, as a lot of their young talent matures. But this year it's going to be rough. I don't know where the runs are going to come from for them. Pitching is adequate, but they're going to lose a lot of games because they're going to struggle offensively. I have them in fourth.
I think they may be a pretty big seller at the deadline. You might see players like Danny Bradford get traded, and maybe some of their older pitch. Maybe they even flip Eric Carpenter after half a season, because I think they might have a chance to go after a wild card, but I don't think they have the top end talent outside of Gabe Hillman to take them there.
No.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and just move us along here. I mentioned I'd touch on the obvious elephant in the room here. No team has financially, and excuse my language, everybody, but fucked themselves more than the Chicago Cubs. No team has set themselves up for more problems in future seasons than Chicago Cubs. How the fuck are you going to sign Kenny Rodriguez? How can you even fit that money on your budget? You're paying a mediocre pitcher well over $50 million a year on top of the random other dudes. They're just signing dudes left and right, handing out big ass contracts with no money to back it up. This team is beyond fucked. Beyond fucked. And I personally, as a Cubs hater in real life, am here for all of it. Now, there's nothing to say. There's nothing to say bad about the Chicago Cubs GM in the MLB. He seems like a great guy. However, there's a reason he wanted to go take the Sacramento job when it was open. It's not because he's a Sacramento dude. It's because he understands the direction this shit is going, and he sees the writing on the wall. This team, for this season, will finish fourth. And in future seasons, once they're forced to sell off, once they're forced to send whatever prospects they have in order to send off their contracts to actually meet payroll, they will be at the bottom of the MLB for a long time.
So while I 100% agree with the financial aspects of your statement, that does not take away from the fact that this team has a very solid roster. You have Danny Smith, Jackie Roberts, the ever-improving CCP of the GM, Anthony Godwin. Danny White. I actually don't think losing Herbeck out of the hot corner is going to hurt them a whole lot because they have a lot of bats in their lineup that can make up for it. They also traded for Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, again, I am not talking about the finance side of it because the check or the bill will come due in future seasons. But this season, I still have them finishing in second.
I have them in second as well. I think Marc-Andre Fleury is going to compete for the MVP. He had a great season last year, and he's going to a better hitter's park in a much better situation for him.
Well, don't tell Cody. It'll go straight to his head.
Okay. I promise not to tell him.
I think they're a third place team. I think they could, with the team they have, and this is no slight on you, Andrew. They could win the division or they could finish rock bottom. They have such a wide scale that I feel like they could finish in this league that for me, third place just seems like the middle point for them. I would not be surprised if they're the second place team.
I don't see it's true. The financial situation is rough. I don't see it as being completely unsolvable. I think somebody will take Briand at some point. Now, how much money the Cubs are going to have to retain, that's another matter. But
I mean, we've seen that no contract is untradeable, aka Tamura Mori. But I'll be honest, that contract may be harder to stomach than the Mori contract.
Yeah.
Well, at least at this point. At least at this point. A few seasons down the road, yes, because Mori wasn't traded until really near the last few years of his contract. But right now, as it stands, I don't think there's anyone in EMLB that would be willing to take it on unless you're attaching like 5 top 100 prospects or something like that to it.
Yeah, that's the point. Any prospects they have for their future are going to have to go towards fixing their payroll. And, well, sure, the overall roster looks good right now. There's always a team that disappoints, and I think it's sometimes fitting for it to be the team that everyone thinks loaded up for right now.
That's fair.
Okay.
All right, Tim, back to you.
Oh, wow. Okay. I am going to go to the AL West, and I am going to go Portland Stags. I like the way the organization is constructed. I know they're playing the long game. They're going to be extremely fast. It's a slow roll. I'm double checking something here. Yes. I see them. Where's my screen again? Okay. I see them finishing 5th, but it is going to be, they will be closer to the Mariners than the team who will be in last place. I feel like they're going to have a really good year this year. Fight me.
I am very happy to put them in 5th place for me. I am overjoyed to put them in 5th place, if you ask me. I love what they're doing out there. Go Attica, and it just warms my heart seeing them in 5th place.
Attica.
So, I also absolutely love Attica. I also have them in 5th place, but I probably am erring on the side of they're going to be finishing closer to the 6th place team than to the Mariners, in my opinion. I wish, as much as I loved the pitch that he made during this CCP signing, I kind of wish they didn't sign Dom Aguilera to that long-term contract when he hit free agency. I feel like that was a little bit too much money to spend on a player that is a great player, but not a franchise-altering player or one that will keep growing your franchise. I wish that they had leaned more into the youth movement and kept building from within, which they are still doing. But I think that Aguilera contract is a little of an albatross. Now, to be fair, that's really the only quote unquote horrible contract that they have because they took on Shane Bieber from myself to add more prospects, and Joe Adele is on his last year of his contract, so those will be off the books soon. So really, Aguilar is the only big money sink right now. I just wish if they hadn't gone out and made that free agent signing, they'd be even better off than they are right now and be able to build more youth. I do have them finishing 5th, probably bottom 5 in the league overall, in my opinion.
Well, you see, the rest of y'all left no room for intrigue in this division, but I did.
Hit us with it, Brendan.
The team finishing 4th will not be Cody with the Athletics. That dude is competitively retooling to the maximum extent. If there is such a thing as tanking in EMLB, Cody will be doing it. Cody's intent is to win less than 40 games. If he can help it, his team will win the fewest amount of games by any team ever. That is his goal for this year. So they're obviously
you can't call what Cody's doing competitively retooling. That's fucking tanking.
Yeah. So they're obviously not the 4th. The 4th is, in my opinion, Portland. Seattle has a tendency to disappoint. And I'm really sorry, Hetz, because I think Hetz is a good GM, but they consistently underwhelm in that division. Well, the Stags
I think your real life fandom is bleeding in there.
They are. It is. Portland has been building it up the right way, and sometimes a good run doesn't win you the division when your talent is what theirs is, but a good run does help you finish 4th instead of 5th or 6th. Like a 75 and 87 kind of season to finish 4th.
All right.
Is it my turn now?
It is.
All right. We've only got one team in the NL West, so let's go over there. We'll talk about the Rockies. The Rockies were an interesting team this offseason, as they apparently were the team you went to if you wanted to offload some bad contracts. Which I think is a good move for them in terms of adding a lot of prospects to their organization. They are still in the middle of a rebuild, but they have a lot of young talent. I don't understand. Who was it that they moved to Toronto? I didn't understand that trade.
Flores.
Yeah.
Flores. I didn't understand that trade. I thought Flores was a great player to have around in Colorado. But that move aside, they are definitely building for the future. Their catcher is a big question mark after the horn dog, Jim Horner, is kind of past his prime and is he still a free agent at this point, or did someone sign him? They have a lot of talent in terms of what they could do with their pitching staff, but pitching in Colorado could be scary for them. Like, for example, the recently re-rated Joe Ryan pitched great for him last year, but he is a pure fly ball pitcher. And so I'm worried about what Ryan will do this year in Colorado. Hopefully he strikes out a lot of people and avoids people making contact. I do have them finishing, though, at not quite at the bottom of the NL West, but I have them finishing 4th.
And Horner signed a minor league contract with the Mets.
Okay. Yeah, I knew he was sitting around there for a while. It was kind of a fall off a table for him. He was doing pretty well in Colorado and then just kind of fell off a cliff.
Yep. I agree with just about everything you said there. I think they are definitely in a spot to retool. They have a ton of prospects. Not a ton near the top, but they've got a lot of pieces that they can turn into other stuff. More on that in a future podcast, but I have the Rockies at 4th.
I as well have them in fourth. I think that the only reason they're in fourth is because the team in fifth is really bad.
Indeed.
No slight on
wanted to
current
do something-
management or previous management.
I really wanted to do something fun where I'm like, the Rockies are third and do like an Aiden style bit. But unfortunately, I can't do that. And hey, just remember, bullying's okay when you're bullying Aiden. I got a chuckle. That's all that mattered.
The views of Brendan do not necessarily represent the
The
views.
views of Brendan do reflect Backfield's media and the entire EMLB media broadcast.
Oh, my
Time to
Lord.
go hit
All right,
those one ads.
Now,
Andrew,
here's
you're up.
why you're wrong.
that was mine. I picked the Rockies.
Oh,
It's your-
okay.
it's your
Sorry,
turn.
my bad. My apologies. Let's go ahead and talk about let's do some AL Central. Let's talk about the last place Kansas City Royals. Even with the introduction of their very loaded CCP that is being brought in, one player does not make a team, and my mother said if I have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. So, fifth place.
All right. Well, I'll be the cockeyed optimist. Like I said in my preview, this is the ultimate test of how good does one great player make a team. And I know he's had a terrific spring. I also know that there was an adjustment to the player. He's still a very highly regarded prospect. I have them in third in the AL Central.
So I would argue that it's not just one player that is going to make a difference, because you definitely have Cowgill that's going to be on the top there, but they also have Von Heimdallr. They also have Clyde Torkel, who's going to be a rookie, who's looking promising. And outside of that, it's pretty much nothing. So the question is, do three players make a team? I still question a lot of moves that Minerva makes. There were a couple of trades this offseason where it was 1-for-1 players where they were trading an established major leaguer for a prospect that was a worse version of that established major leaguer. And I scratch my head at all of those moves. And also the signing of Chris Wilson to a, 6-year, $64 million contract at age 30 for a left-handed reliever that is a little bit past his, had a down season last year, was also a bit of a head scratcher. Like 3 years at that salary would make sense, but I don't know why you want to commit 6 years to a reliever like that. So there are still some moves that I question in Kansas City. I do have them finishing above the Tigers in fourth place because I do think those three CCPs are going to make a difference. But the rest of the roster has a lot of work to do still. And I can only imagine, and I think a meme has been thrown around about this, can only imagine if Minerva had drafted Cowgill first and still had Tommy Springer in that rotation as well, that Kansas City would have been a lot better off, because Tommy Springer looked pretty darn good from a young pitcher perspective, and he moved over to Boston in that trade. Now, I don't think Minerva's going to complain because you got Cowgill, but it's one of those like hindsight's 2020. Like, what if you just took Cowgill to begin with? But hindsight's 2020. I don't think anyone knew that Cowgill would blow up this much, but the option was still there.
He also like, and this is a move he made with me, trading Slocum for Holton Like that's one of those moves that you talk about. How are you going to trade someone who is a decent starter for you and would probably lead your rotation along with Cowgill this year and give you actually two decent starters for a guy who's a little bit worse than he is as a prospect? There are too many moves there that baffle me to put them anywhere but fifth.
Now, I will give him credit. His Rule 5 draft pick was my number one on my board, and Mark Mudd from San Diego. So I will give him props there. Mudd looks decent. Not a Rule 5 pick isn't going to be game changing though, but I do have to give props to that was a very good Rule 5 pick.
Tim, you put them in third?
Yes.
So, y'all have seen the memes going around recently.
There were a lot of
Where
memes.
you're like, it's like the meme where it's like, is he a good GM? No. Does he make good moves? No. Is his overall team good? Also, no. Does he have a good farm system? Not really. Do I still think they're going to be good? No. It's just no, all down the line. However, I will interrupt that meme by saying, do I think this team finishes better than the Guardians? Yes.
Wait.
Now,
you have them in second?
Yes, I do. I do not entirely. Let me phrase my whole thoughts. I do not entirely list him here as a praise of the Royals. This is in large part a condemnation of the rest of the AL Central. The Guardians have 5 good players. The Royals have 3. But I think the Royals 3 are better than the Guardians 5 because really the Royals 3 are the Royals 4 because you got both sides of the ball. And Cowgill is enough of an impact. I think he puts them ahead of the Guardians. It's still a 73-win team. I just think the Guardians are going to fall off that much. And yeah, Aiden, yeah, I think you're 4th. Your rotation ain't shit.
I just don't think you got to look at the rest of the roster outside of the 5 and the 3 that you mentioned. The Guardians roster outside of the 5 and the 3 is hands and feet above what the Royals have on the rest of their roster.
My scout says otherwise.
All right. We'll see.
We will see. I'll probably be wrong. But I also think that the Royals will unfortunately, much to their GM's delight, be able to rub this in people's faces this year. I think there will be a lot of, shaking their butt going, ha, 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 look how fucking good I am this offseason, this upcoming offseason after this year's over.
We haven't gotten to this part yet, but the question is going to be, do you have them in the playoffs too?
Fuck no.
I said I gave you opportunity to wait, but no. Said we were going to talk about it later, but whatever.
I'll just knock it out now. Aiden's indignation is primarily due to the feeling of insult that he must feel right now.
I think you fried him.
I think I broke Aiden
coming out of his ears.
I've been trying to do that.
See, here's the thing.
How much time are you going to spend on this?
Tim actually did research, so I'm willing to hear him out. You're just a drunk asshole who just wants to see me suffer.
What's your point?
All right, what's next?
Hey,
your turn to pick.
You come to the podcast.
So good.
You come to the podcast, pals. You come for content. That's what this is.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know that we can call what this is content, but
Whose turn is it?
oh God.
Tim's.
We're back to the top, Tim.
Oh, is it me? Oh, okay. All right. Well, then let's talk about the Twins, who you will see. I have in fifth. So the previous GM clearly had a plan, and Aaron's skill always was taking lesser talent and doing amazing things with it. And it's very much a puzzle piece. And I am excited to watch over in the Bowl Hockey League, the Boys of Winter League, that's on Twitch. Watch her do the same thing with a hockey team. Aiden has made some good moves. He's got her back in, but in the process, kind of broke that whole puzzle piece thing. And the struggle this year is going to be you're basically going to have to restructure what you have. And I feel like with the other teams in that division where they are, you would finish fifth. It's close with the Tigers and quite possibly the Royals, but that's where I see it.
I don't think the Twins are a bad roster. I just don't think the Twins are a very good roster. Urbeck, good hitter. After that, even a couple of the guys we gave. Oh, and Odom, really good hitter.
Odom's good.
The rotation is garbage. It's one of the worst rotations in the league. And Aiden, I'm not saying this because I am leaning into our, you me feud. Although I am a little bit. This is not why I'm saying this, and just in the general podcast, I'm doing this a little bit. I don't see anything better than fourth. I think you're better than the Tigers. I ain't saying much. He is rendered speechless. All celebrating.
All right,
So let me give you a segue.
I guess it's my turn, though. All right. So here's my thing. When I was making my power rankings, this is going to be a little bit of a teaser for the power rankings. I actually have the Twins and the Royals right next to each other. So I have you above the Royals, but that could easily flip. And the biggest reason why is because I graded your biggest strength as your bullpen. When your bullpen is your biggest strength, that does not bode well for a successful season. Now, again, this is a rebuilding team. I don't think you even expected to compete for a playoff spot anytime soon. You did bring in Herbeck, which is definitely going to be a boost to your offense. I just still think there's a lot of work to be done.
I don't disagree with that.
Is the plan to put Odom in the infield or the outfield?
So the plan of right now is to put Odom in the outfield. That is currently he's slated to be the left fielder.
Okay.
As it stands. I respect what you guys say, unless your name is Brennan, in which case, fuck you. But
I knew that was coming. Could see that a mile away.
and Tim, I want to touch on your points. I can see where you're coming from, where Aaron seems to be able to put puzzle pieces together. However, I think through talking with Aaron, I kept a large part of the core that she put in place intact. And I think the moves that I made, every single move this offseason was made with consulting with Aaron on, hey, how do you think this would affect the team? Not necessarily, yes, make it, no, don't make it. How do you think it would affect the team? Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, we became a better ball club than we did last year. I think the rotation last year was atrocious and it couldn't have gotten any worse. I think we went to a more youthful rotation that's going to go through some growing pains. However, I think the addition of Slocum is an underrated addition. Ferrara is going to lead the line. We get another year of Spears. You're going to have another year of Stone as well, who's going to be able to develop there. And then Nestor Cortez is coming in, whether it's this year or next year. And we know he was re-rated. So he's a wild card. Who knows what he's going to be? The bullpen has been the strength of this team, and it will continue to be. I think what Brendan was saying about the hitters, however, is untrue. O'Connor in the outfield is a stud, is a great hitter to lead that lineup, and he's going to hit doubles and steal bases. You've got a guy like Dudley, who's a 280 hitter who can get on base. You've got Herbeck, what you mentioned. You've got Odom, what you mentioned. You got Juan Ledesma over at first, or you've got our first baseman Ledesma over there, who is a good hitter. I think Milligan in a change of scenery is going to do well. You've got a decent hitter in Peterman as the DH coming in. I think, and you've got Adley Rutschman behind the dish, who is a solid catcher back there, which is important for the young pitching staff that I have. I think this team has a lot more bat awareness, and I think it's got a better rotation than you guys are giving it credit for. Do I think I'm challenging for a playoff spot? No. But do I think the Royals can beat me? Absolutely not. I think you guys are blowing Minerva a little too hard here, and I think the Royals are going to be a lot worse than what you think. You're still muted, so I can't hear any of the bullshit that's coming out of your mouth.
It's probably a good thing that it was muted. Look, all I'm saying is that if we're going strictly off OSA numbers, y'all got 3 hitters who are green in their overalls. And while overalls are definitely not everything, that's a scary, scary number. I know. I'm a team that's got like 3 or 4 guys who are over green overall. And I'm worried. You are significantly less worried than I think you should be.
Because I don't look at the ratings, I look at the statistics that they put up, and I also look at how they compare to the ballpark. Look at the numbers that they put up, and then you can come to me with ratings. You're the one who preaches that to me about look at the numbers, don't necessarily look at the ratings. So I'm just saying you can't shit in one hand and in the other expect the same thing.
If you looked at the stats, you wouldn't have re-signed Jack Peterson to be your DH.
All I'm saying is that if I look at the stats, right now he is a stopgap guy who is cheap that I can get rid of if I need to.
I can't wait for y'all to roast me.
Oh, I'm so ready to get to you. I want to.
So excited.
Your evaluation of cheap was it 5.5 million for the next 3 years for a -1 WAR player
who was playing in the outfield. That's why he was a -1 WAR player last year. When you put him in at DH, he is actually a positive WAR player.
You put him
in a role
84
that values their defensive position, like their defensive position out, added.
You're putting an 84 OPS plus player at DH.
Okay.
Because he was a platoon player last year, not getting full ABs. You put him into ABs, I guarantee you he's going to be a better player than you think.
Nah.
All right.
I think you're just fucking wrong, Andrew.
Nah. Oh, damn. Fucking Andrew killed him with 3 letters. Nah.
I'm only getting that reaction out of Brendan because he's drunk. So let's move on.
Oh yeah.
Can we go to the Yankees next? Can we skip order here and go to the Yankees?
Whose turn is it, anyways?
It's my turn.
It's Andrew's.
And I have the Yankees, so let's do it.
We do? Yay!
All right, Aiden. I'm giving the floor to you first.
Aiden, take the floor, bitch.
I'm so glad I don't edit these anymore.
Yankees
I'm
lose
not
out on
editing anything.
Herbeck.
I know you aren't.
Yankees lose out on Herbeck. Oh well. You actually made some decent moves, and I give you credit for those where it's due. I don't think you're a last place team in the AL East, to be quite honest with you, even though I really want to put you there just to give you 2 giant middle fingers. Overall, I think you definitely have a lot that needs to be done with that team. However, I think that if there is a person to undertake the task, it is you. I do think, however, that you are going to be the best of the worst, and I think you will end up finishing 3rd in that division, but a 3rd that is well under 500.
You know what? I'm outside of the very last sentence. The rest of that was like, damn, Aiden is responding to my wanton criticism with praise. And I was wondering, when did we become the other person? But then his last sentence was like, okay, there we go. There's Aiden.
I had to have a little bit of a jab. No, but and that was the personal coming at. No, if we're being serious, I think you finished right around 500. I think that your lineup still needs work, but I like what you have started there. I think a little more young talent for you will do you well, and when you get some non-CCPs that you can actually spend the money on when the people don't hate you, that'll be nice. Sorry.
So I have the with the signings of Machado and Barboza, I have the Yankees rotation as one of the top rotations in baseball. Top 10, if not top 5. But outside of that, there's really not much else. I know if you had been able to sign Herbeck, this lineup would look a whole heck of a lot better. And I know that hurts you a lot because that was one of your big offseason targets. I expect I'm looking. I know you traded for Robert Hassel, and I think he's going to have a good year as a left-handed power hitter in New York. Outside of him, Hedges, Devers, and Zana, there's really not much else that you can speak of. Fun fact, and another spoiler for my power rankings. Outside of the Blue Jays, I don't have any of the other teams in the AL East in the top 15.
Oof.
I've got the Yankees finishing 3rd.
Fair.
I have them finishing 4th, but close. A lot of what Andrew said, I agree with. This team's going to need a lot more offense to compete in the AL East or in the AL in general. And I think it's coming, but not this year.
Yeah. I swung and missed a couple times this offseason, which I'm not happy about. But, hey, what's life? As far as I'm concerned, Twins 34 and I have buried the hatchet between us. Even though he decided to go back to the Twins, which honestly I can't begrudge him for because it's in his fucking username.
It's like, okay, fair enough.
The offense is terrible. Don't get me wrong, the top of the lineup, pretty darn good. Even Devers at his advanced age, still pretty darn good. Zana's good enough for Hebrew to have prostituted himself heavily for. So makes me feel pretty good about my catching situation. Overall, I'm worried about the lineup. I have said since the offseason began, my goal was 81 plus or minus 3 wins. And I still think overall I'm on target to be around there. I have myself as the number 4 team in the AL East.
I'm done being nice to you. I try to do the right thing.
Why? What did I say that was mean?
Fuck you. I mean,
That was just a weird reaction to what he just said, though.
no, I'm not saying that. You having yourself in 4th, I think you're not giving yourself enough credit for your pitching rotation. I think your pitching rotation is going to win you some games. And I don't understand. Like to me, I don't see how you have the O's higher than you, just simply for the fact that I think that your pitching rotation is better than theirs is, and your bats are comparable.
No, I think that we're very similar teams and their bats are better. Hedges is better than any hitter on the O's. However, any hitters on the O's is probably better than Zana, Hazel, or Devers.
Okay.
Espinosa, really?
Oh, God. Espinosa's a fucking G. I wish he was still on my team.
All right. I'll go next then. I'll pick the next team. Let's go back to the NL and talk about the Washington Nationals.
You mean the team that destroyed my hopes and dreams? It made me feel like the future has no meaning.
Yeah, that one. Anybody but Madrado.
It was at that moment where Brendan knew where he stood.
You know the 1,000-yard stare painting? That's me whenever somebody mentions Anthony Medrano or the Washington Nationals.
So Brendan, then let me ask you this. Where do you have the Nationals finishing then? Is that just because you hate them, or are you going to give some analysis, or?
They old and not very good.
Well, he took the words right out of my mouth. 5th place.
Charger came uncoupled.
I think we're going to see, they are not the World Series champions that they were, and I think we're going to constantly see them digress with the Diggses getting older.
There's a huge
rebuild.
Struggle.
Yeah. They got a huge rebuild.
So I realized I messed up in my prior rankings, but I'm going to keep it this way. Well, no, I'm going to go back to what I had originally. And I'm sorry for you to have to do this. Can you drop the Expos down to 5 for me?
Mm-hmm.
I mislabeled my order here. I do have Washington in 4th. Just because I do think they have a little bit more talent than the Expos, but they're on a different trajectory than the Expos. As you guys mentioned, this team is old. So I do think the Nationals are kind of on a downswing, and they're going to keep going down, whereas the Expos are more on their way up. But I do think this year they have a little bit more talent than the Expos, and so I think they will finish ahead of them. Yeah, that's about it.
As expected, some cutting-edge analysis from Andrew.
So, Brennan, which team would you like next?
I would like to talk about the Doyers.
Los Doyers?
Los Doyers.
I think we also skipped Brendan at one point because he has 3 teams left and the rest of us have 2.
So the Doyers have spent a lot of money. They've had quite a bit of that money wiped out with multiple, with one example wiped out, and then obviously like discussions on the other ones. They got into trouble for some contract stuff. Some people are offended over not receiving what they feel to be proper draft compensation for their contracts signed. Hell, I think that's the reason Jamie left the league briefly. Los Doyers. Los Doyers are unfortunately, despite their additions, only a 3rd-place team in the NL West. They got problems. They don't got as bad of problems as the Cubs do. The Cubs got real big problems. But the Dodgers got big money problems moving forward. And I just don't think the Dodgers are that good. I think the Dodgers are not good in a way that I think I'm not that good. Like, the top end of that roster, sure, can hang with anybody. But the rest of the roster, I don't feel so good about you. Also, I blame y'all for starting this podcast late because my analysis would be more coherent if we had started sooner.
I'll take the blame on that. I know it's my fault.
Frickin' Andrew, you did this to me.
No regrets.
Gosh darn it, Andrew. How dare you care about Jesus?
There's so many things I can name this podcast now.
Oh,
gosh dang it, Andrew! How dare you dare? But how dare you? How dare you care about Jesus?
Cut right there.
Where's
Oh
the
my god, guys! I am unfortunate.
All right, let's before this goes any more off the rails, I'll talk about the Dodgers.
All right.
I think they're trying really, really hard to stay competitive, but kind of like what Brendan was saying. I think they might be in a little bit of money trouble here soon. Not as much as the Cubs, but I mean, to be fair, they have a lot of shorter term contracts for their top end ones. Darius McKenzie is kind of fading a little bit. He's not the player he used to be. They did sign Barrios. They did sign Suzuki to probably play DH. I do have them in second, but I'm not really confident in that second place. I could easily see the Dodgers and Padres switching places. I don't think their rotation is as good as advertised. I think the top end, like the top two, are great, but there's a lot of question marks after that. I don't think Davis Riccos is going to have as good of a season this year as he did last year. I think there's going to be some regression there, and their bullpen's pretty good when you consider that. I thought Jordan Hicks he's got him listed as a starter, which I think is just getting preseason work. But anyway,
that's spring training.
yeah, spring training work. Anyway, yeah, I think the loss of it's not Kent Herbeck. It's Rob Deere Jr., the other junior. The loss of Rob Deere Jr. is going to hurt their offense quite a bit, and they're going to struggle to their outfield is definitely a lot worse as a result. So I think that's what keeps them from being a top team is trading away Deere, and I hope they're hoping they don't regret that. Again, Dodgers, Padres, get out that coin. You could flip a coin for that one, but I do have them a little bit better than the Padres.
Would you like to flip the coin for it?
No, because I've already made my decision. I don't. You know me. I'm not one that leaves it up to chance.
The gods shall decide.
The Padres are the Dodgers are a third place team, and I'm very happy to say that because fuck the Dodgers. Not necessarily in EMLB. I'm more talking about real life than anything, but fuck the Dodgers.
I think the Rob Deere trade hurts them for this season and possibly next. I think I think it's a retreat to win situation. I have the Dodgers in third as well.
I didn't understand the Rob Deere trade at the time. I probably won't ever understand it fully. I think it was a mistake.
Well, and I think it gave the creator of that player a chance to unite with his brother.
Yeah, well, I do feel like there is, at least coming from the organizational top, a tendency to reference the GM's former dominance in a previous league. How about that? That has never been seen in the MLB. And based on the current trajectory of the team, I don't expect it to be seen anytime soon.
Okay.
When I put the Dodgers at third, it's not with a winning record.
So, who's up next? Is it Tim?
Me. All right.
Or do we want to double Brendan because he's one behind?
No, everybody has two.
I was only one
Brendan
behind.
has three.
I was only one behind because I hadn't picked yet.
Even with the Dodgers picked, you were still at 3.
How?
Mm-mm.
The math checks out.
It's because Tim hasn't been marking them off as quickly.
No,
we haven't talked about any of those 3.
I haven't talked about 3 of my teams.
Right.
And the rest of us haven't talked about 2.
What?
That's how math works.
Did we skip me at some point?
I think so. So why don't you pick another one of your teams?
I think you said that you went one time when you actually didn't.
Oops.
During one of our heated discussions.
Do you want me to go right now?
Sure.
Yes.
All right. Well, since I've been dissing people anyways, let's go ahead and diss the fucking Boston Red Sox. You see, here's the thing. independent of EMLB and my new Yankees affiliation, I fucking hate the Red Sox. I fucking hate the city of Boston, and I fucking hate the city of Boston's fans. They are a spoiled, entitled bunch of little brats as fans, and I am looking forward to exacting some small revenge in this league when they finish 5th.
Bad boys, what you gonna
And
do?
Billy, I remember my most concrete EMLB memory. My most concrete EMLB memory is a game of the night late in the 2025 season when I faced off against the Red Sox, and we were up 6-4, I think. And Billy chose to bean one of my players because we'd hit a home run, and we proceeded to score like another 6 that inning and just totally wax them in that game as a kind of big old middle finger, like stuck up towards that general direction. Hate Boston. Love you, Billy. Billy's a cool dude. Every interaction I've had with him has been pretty pleasant. He seems like a fine guy. Hate Boston. Hate the city. Hate their teams. Fuck Boston.
Kamish talked about when looking for a new GM for the Yankees, wanting to bring back the Boston and New York rivalry. And you know what? I think it's back. It's going to be a battle for last place. Fuck Boston. They're in last.
Well, I won't use such strong language. I think it's funny.
He found Jesus. Oh,
yeah.
Jesus condemns our
time ago.
language.
So I think it's hilarious looking at Boston's roster this year and seeing how good their pitching staff looks, especially with Skeens potentially making the major league roster this year, and how bad their lineup looks. Considering just a couple seasons ago, we were talking about the exact opposite problem of a fantastic offense in Boston, but a horrible pitching staff. So they fixed one, but broke the other. And it's ending up with them back in 5th place.
see, you can prevent runs, but you still have to score runs to win. And eventually, your arm is going to give out.
Yeah,
Wait.
and to be fair,
Wait. You have to score runs to win in baseball?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know anything about that.
I wouldn't.
I can't vote against Livy Dunn. I have them in 3rd.
Respect.
I'm
You know
just
what?
I'm just
Respect.
upset. I'm just upset. If Skeens had stayed in Kansas City, warm weather team, lot more great camera shots. In Boston,
Tim.
she's going to be covered up except in July.
Tim, can I ask? I need to ask you a genuine question, all right?
All right.
Who do you care more about, Livy Dunn or Mrs. Machado?
Livy Dunn is real.
Tim's next CCP is
It's actually somebody else that's in the hopper right now, but I also am planning on creating Sis Bates. Great University of Washington shortstop. All right.
Back
Moving
to you,
on.
Tim.
All right. I'm going to do an easy one so we can wrap this up. A's, 6th. It's Tim Lane and the Little League All-Stars. Although if this was EMLB The Show 25, he's got a really nice roster for that. L.A. De La Cruz and a couple of other guys. So Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, that's true.
This is a massive rebuild, and I think there is a plan behind the madness, and I'm here for it.
My answer is with the first overall pick in the 2032 EMLB draft, Sacramento A's are now on the clock. That's it.
I hope Cody knows I'm going to find any way just to fuck with him. And I hope he knows that at the All-Star break, when we're allowed to talk about rules, I'm going to be talking about a draft lottery just so that way he gets fucked for trying to tank.
Yeah, because that argument's going to go over well.
I still think the Braves finish worse than they do, but they're last. And by design.
I mean, I hear the whole trying to tank thing, but is it really? I mean, there's like
No,
if
Cody
you
doesn't
lined
have to try.
everybody
He's
up-
a shitty ass manager anyway.
Well, I knew that was going to be
Oh.
next.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
but
I'm kidding, Cody. I love you.
Watch the Twins finish with a worse record than the A's this year as a result.
Yeah,
I will bet you
I just feel like
$20
there
right
was a
now
lot
that
of
that doesn't happen. I will put $20.
I'm not
on
taking. I'm not taking that bet. I just think it'd be hilarious after that comment.
Wait. Are we taking the action that it does or it doesn't?
I'm saying that it won't.
Fuck. Okay. I wanted to take you on it, but I can't. I can't stop.
all right, Andrew.
All right, Andrew, your team.
I got two good teams left. Let's do the Giants. And let's put them in first.
I was going to go out on a limb and put them there.
Yeah. No, put them in fit. No, I'm kidding.
Go Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks for the win. So the really interesting thing about the Giants, and I've talked about two-way players a lot during this podcast, is they have multiple two-way players that he has to manage properly. And there's talk about him talking about Paxler putting up a 6-man rotation to help alleviate some of that burden on those two-way stars. And I think that even when you stretch the rotation out to 6 players, this rotation is still one of the top 2 rotations in baseball, even when you stretch it out to 6. And as a result, and you put whatever player is not pitching into the lineup, into either the outfield or the DH spot when you're talking about Candela and Thurman, along with Michael Sean Kane, this is the top team in the NL West for me.
Same. For all the reasons you mentioned.
It'll be very interesting to see how Paxler juggles all of those two-way players, but I think going to that 6-man rotation is the best way to do it.
I just
Giving
like
you
that
guys
there's a plan.
giving you guys a little preview of the EMLB WBC that I've been doing. Candela hurts me, and so therefore I exact revenge, and I don't think he can overcome the power of the Kims, so I think they finish in second.
The problem is I've already picked them to win accidentally.
You can change it. I changed one of mine earlier.
I find it hard to believe that, God damn it, fuck, that Candela won't get hurt.
Which one?
His current usage boosts, irregardless of boosts to injury prevention. His current usage is unsustainable. Of the 2 guys who I want to say that to, I won't say it to him. Giants are still in 1.
All right.
All right, I guess it's my turn. Let's go with the easy one. Let's go with Philadelphia Phillies. First place, CCP Gauntlet. That's a
when who was it who dealt with the second time? Was it the Cowboys or the Eagles who dealt with T.O. after his big, public relations blow up?
I think it was the Eagles.
It was the Eagles. Carew with the Phillies feels like T.O. with the Eagles. I'm a problem.
Kind of funny that it's both Philadelphia teams.
No, it is. I'm a problem everywhere I go. I cause problems. I'm a cancer, but I'm really fucking good. And if you can put up with the cancer, I'll help you win. That's Carew with the Phillies. Enough said.
The only position groups I have the Phillies as not rated one of the top 2 in baseball is their catcher / DH position and their outfield, which are also rated in the top 10. They are the favorites to win the World Series this year. Don't need to say anything else.
And I too am putting them in first place. Best team overall, 1 loss for the year.
1 loss.
All I'm saying is
win loss.
Wouldn't it be
Sounded like you said 1 loss, 161-1.
Yeah, no, not that good.
Wouldn't it be really funny if this team did capitalize on their potential? So many times in baseball, we think a team has put it all together, and then that team shits the bed.
So what's the floor for them?
The floor is
Win-loss.
probably, I don't know, 75 wins or losses. I mean, sorry, 75 losses. I mean,
Okay.
like that's 87 wins. That's still
Mhm.
pretty darn good, but that's a pretty disappointing floor when you look at what they're doing. I don't think the Phillies win the World Series. The way baseball's playoffs are structured is antithetical to the idea of the best team in the league winning the whole fucking thing.
Well, that hurts.
Stupid. It is. Sorry, Andrew. Sorry.
No, I don't think I was the best team going into the playoffs. My team stepped up.
The way baseball's playoffs work is very frequently the best team loses. Phillies get knocked out in the first round.
Bold prediction.
112 wins, 112 and 50. I'll call it now. And lost in the divisional round.
Well,
all right. So I guess let's knock out the rest of the teams and then give our playoff predictions and get the hell out of here.
Yep.
Sure.
All right. You're up, Brennan.
I'm up. Fuck. Diamondbacks in last. Tim is a mediocre at best temporary GM, and he knows it. I'm sorry, Tim.
no, you're right.
With the second overall pick
It's basically like, what if Brendan were forced to fix the Diamondbacks? He probably wouldn't do as good. Tim's a good hold down the fort guy. There's no winning with that situation.
Tim's good at holding down the fort, and it's going to be beautiful when the draft lottery is implemented and he pulls the number 1 overall pick and Cody is suffering drafting number 3.
Spoiler alert. I won't be there. I am just a caretaker. There will be a new GM soon.
You know, the Diamondbacks are the Diamondbacks are the definition of a teenage dirtbag. I feel like they're, the goth kid that just sits in the corner and just exists.
I'm gonna have to go home and cry now. Oh wait, I am home.
All right. Great. Diamondbacks are gone. Let's go ahead, Tim.
My last team is the Rangers. I said in my preview podcast that every year in baseball, there's one team that is on a mission. And I feel this year it is the Rangers. I am putting them in third, but hold that thought. I think the Rangers are in a situation where they're good enough to finish third, not throw Cassie Thurman for 280 innings, and just make it to the playoffs and save their best for that.
Every so often, there's a team that's on a mission, and there's a team that's on a mission to prove that they were snubbed for the draft pick compensation they feel they were earned. God damn it. Ruined my whole spiel.
I'm so sorry.
It's funny. It's legit funny. Rangers in second.
I have the Rangers
Annoyed.
winning the division. I think after the whole ALCS fiasco, which I won't go into detail because I know that is a sore subject, because it sucked. It really did. I think, once again, as you guys both mentioned, they're on a mission to come back and get to the World Series. I think that they will do it. They have studs at every type of position. Lola Thurman is probably, outside of Cody Koshin, the best player in EMLB. That's not a two-way player.
Yeah.
I think the Rangers are the best team in the AL West. I think when we talk about them being on a mission, I think we're going to see it this year. I think that as much as I want to say, Aiden Pearson's going to win the MVP, Lola Thurman is going to win the MVP. It's going to be a tight race, but Lola Thurman is the best player in baseball, period.
All right. Andrew, your last?
Yeah, my last team is the Astros, following that up. So I have them finishing second. Just like Tom in LA, Ben just has been consistent throughout the entirety of EMLB. He is one of the two GMs that have multiple World Series wins? Him and Cody?
I think so, yeah.
And I think Brendan mentioned this about the Angels, or it was either you or Tim, that the Angels keep churning out top prospects. The Astros keep seeming to find young prospects that have high potential out of nowhere. So they keep these things churning. So I still think that they have a great team. Their middle infield is what gives me concern, which is why I don't have them winning the division. That's their weak spot. And I think it's very important to have a strong middle infield, or at least at the shortstop spot. We'll see where Ray Leger fits into that equation, but he's young, unproven. So we'll see what happens there. But I do have Houston finishing second.
I have them
I think
finishing.
we've all.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we've all sort of established the fact that the top three is a toss-up. I just think the Astros haven't done much this offseason to convince me to put them above the other two teams. And as stupid as it sounds, retaining Jamie as their GM was enough for the Rangers to be on top.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Brandon, you're muted.
Fuck. I was fully prepared for the Rangers to finish much lower in the division before Jamie came back.
Yeah.
With Jamie back, I put them at 2. And that leaves Ben at 3, obviously, where they've been filled in. No insult to what Ben has with the Astros. I just think that you can't be on top of the mountain forever. Eventually, the other two guys are going to beat you.
All right, we got 2 teams left. What's next?
All right,
Aiden?
the Rays. I think the Rays continue to do things that I couldn't do when I was GM there. Maybe that's just because D-Block is more creative with the money. But I think there's
Rays
always
better
one
GM
team.
overall.
I think that, we see every year a team that we always project to be, that big team. A few years ago, it was the Reds. that don't necessarily do that. And I think for me that this year it's going to be the Blue Jays. That's why I think the Rays can overtake them in the division.
I have them finishing second. That the way last season ended for them in the regular season worries me a lot because they just kind of like fell off a cliff towards the end. I think there's going to be quite a bit of distance between them and the Jays.
I don't think the AL East is a great division. I think there's a clear winner and a bunch of losers. The Rays are the best of said losers. And it's probably because Aiden isn't their GM anymore.
He just had to get one more dig in there.
I can't tell if that was a compliment or a dig.
Both. Either.
To you, a dig. To D-Block, a compliment.
D-Block has done a good job.
I mean, it helps when you have the second best catcher in baseball.
Well, and also the miraculous career-altering change of Marty McCleary. That helped too. I do also have the Rays in second. Unfortunately, with this, I don't know if this team is going to make the playoffs. We'll see in a second where I put teams in the playoffs. But I do like the core of what they have, and they could surprise a lot of teams this year. Although, I guess based on where we rank them, it's not going to surprise you guys. But
y'all, at this point in time, I might be calling in to work saying I'm going to be late tomorrow.
Well, let's finish this up so we can at least lower those chances.
No. It's already happened.
Oh, okay.
All right. So the last team, it's all about the Mets, baby. Let's go Mets. Hit a home run. Let's go
Mets. Let's go home run. Hit a Mets. I love the Mets, baby. That's my team here, and I will stand for Denbrew. I'm sorry, Denbrew. You had to wait till the end of a 2.5-ish hour podcast to hear your team talked about. They're profoundly mediocre, and I think they're going to finish fourth in the AL East, the NL East. But Denbrew, you're still one of the coolest people in the MLB. We're lucky to have you. And while your team may still be riding that long-term struggle bus, hopefully you aren't, and hopefully everything is good with you, buddy.
Well, I'm picking them second because I like their offense. I like the young players they've got. I think all of the injury trouble they had last year is going to give them some depth. And I see them being highly competitive. I mean, the Phillies are going to lap the field, but I think the Mets finish second.
Hot take. The Phillies win the East by more games, and the second place is ahead of last place.
Okay.
Interesting. So I have them finishing in third, but it's going to be a very close race between the Marlins and the Mets. I mentioned that when I was talking about the Marlins, I had them barely beating out the Mets. I actually rated their outfield of Moody, Anderson, and Snyder as one of the top 2 complete outfields in baseball. And I didn't do it at first, but I looked at their stats from last year. They all put up fantastic seasons. And for example, Joe Moody in just 100 games put up a 2.6 WAR. And I know people are going to go, "Oh, WAR's not everything," blah, blah, blah. I just go basic, okay? I'm not going to go in depth.
WAR. What is it good for? Aiden?
WAR is good for nothing but peace.
All right, whatever. Anyway, moving on. I have them finishing third, but I would not be surprised if they hop the Marlins for second.
I've got them in third, but I think it's a distant third. I don't think it's as close as as you predicted as Andrew. I think
I'll wait.
I think that the Marlins are going to be more creative at the deadline, and I think the Marlins are going to do a lot of good things. I think, yes, while it can be close, I don't know if the Mets are going to be able to have more success. I think that while the Marlins floor is 500, I think that's the ceiling of the Mets.
I think the Mets have been mediocre for a long time, and then while I do agree that it's going to continue, any one of these years, the Mets are going to suddenly turn into a monster and be like, whoa, where the fuck did this team come from? And that's just kind of how I've always felt about this team. Like, one of these years, they will win that division, and it will be a total shock to everybody. They'll do some serious damage in the postseason, and then they'll go right back to where they are right now.
All right.
I don't think you guys are giving enough credit to how the Mets did last year. They finished with 88 wins last year. They were very close to making the playoffs, and I think they're going to keep that momentum going.
All right, so let's go here. Who's your wild card, and who's
That's
your
right,
World
we still
Series
have to
winner
do
and
this.
loser? Let's make it quick.
We're not going to do the full. Yeah, we're not going to do the full playoff bracket. Just the World Series, the World Series matchup and winner.
All right, here are my wild card teams that I'll give you. I think it is the Blue Jays and the Angels are in the wild card.
He totally didn't hear you.
Blue Jays and who?
Blue Jays and Angels.
And who's the other one?
Blue Jays, Angels, and I'm going to go with the Astros. I think your World Series matchup is going to be – I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to say it's going to be Padres-Rangers.
Okay. Who wins it?
I think the Rangers have something to prove here, and I think they end up taking it down.
I think the current reigning champion returns to the World Series and is upended by the real EMLB sexiest GM, Tom Falzone, and the Angels win the World Series. Let's call it 4-2 over the Cardinals. And you know what? JR said it to us. I'll say it out here.
No.
No. I'm saying it. I don't care. Fuck y'all.
No.
JR might be the sexiest GM EMLB, but Tom is the EMLB's pussy magnet.
By the way, we didn't get any wild card teams from Brendan, and Aiden didn't give the NL wild card teams.
Oh, you want me to give my wild card teams?
I'll give mine. Sorry.
My wild card teams are Rangers, Astros, Rays.
My NL one's real quick for those who care. I think the second place team's just straight across the board. I think Marlins, Brewers, and Giants.
Also, Aiden tried really hard to stop me there. There was no stopping it.
All right, I guess I'll go next. So I'll do wildcard teams first. In the AL, I'll do Guardians, Astros, Angels. And in the NL, I'm going Cubs, Dodgers, Padres. And as much as I want to pick myself to get back to the World Series, I'm looking at my competition, and it was hard to get there last year, and I'm doing my best to get back. But for the sake of picks, I got to have the Phillies in the World Series. And I think the White Sox make it back, but the Phillies will take the World Series. I know I'm going with the easy homer pick, but
I have
that team is just too stacked.
And I have the Phillies beating the Rangers in the World Series.
What are your other wildcard teams?
Angels, Rangers, and Guardians. I have the Mets, Cubs, and Padres in the NL.
All right.
All right.
Well,
you have it.
thank you for sticking with us through that, through this fun escapade, I should say. We do appreciate you guys being here. Let us know in the comments what you guys believe is going to happen, as well as your favorite moment for the podcast. So we're going to end it there. For Tim Lowry of Backfields Media, Andrew, our World Series champion, the EMLB motherfucker, and Brendan and myself, Aiden Pearson, we like to thank you for being here. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful evening and stay safe.
We try to keep it short.
We tried, but not very hard. Deus veole. My brothers in Christ, we are gathered here to talk about EMLB.
And he froze. Oh no, you're back now.
And that wasn't the actual intro. This is just me having fun.